Now, your most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, sponsored by AC Designs.
Okay, so if you're new to hurricane country, or just as a reminder, let's put things in perspective. It's the Gulf Coast, and at least right now, we can focus, I think, on about Clearwater to Cedar Key as having the highest likelihood of a storm surge of 8 to 15 feet. That's just the flat ocean, the flat Gulf, and then surf on top of that, and winds gusting to over 100 miles per hour. Another shift just a little bit to the right, and you're going to see those numbers, if not higher, get up into Tampa Bay. And that's where the widespread evacuations will be. On our side of the coast, we're still going to have a significant event, but again, we're not worried about a storm surge of those type numbers. We're looking at more of maybe 2 to 3 to 4 feet. However, we are going to be dealing with what I call a secondary low. So this is a look at the most intense winds, but watch what happens as the hurricane and the worst it has to offer. The storm surge and those high winds, that's going to cause the most destruction and possibly the most tragedies on the West Coast. But look what happens here in our part of the world, Northeast Florida, southeastern Georgia. Because of how the overall synoptic scenario will develop, we'll talk more about that through the week, a secondary low will develop probably just south of Daytona Beach, and that's going to increase the pinch or the winds. In other words, this hurricane, this eye wall, some of that energy will transfer across the state, and thus we're going to have basically a major nor'easter develop. Think kind of Irma-like, unlike Matthew. In other words, those of you away from the ocean front will probably have more significant of event. And the greatest concern that I have, the combination, has to do with, look at all this moisture that's going to pile up. Now, here's the hurricane, but a second maxima is what we call it, a second area of high rainfall totals because of that secondary low. We also call it a triple point, is going to develop here. In fact, it could be that for those of us that are in northeastern Florida and southeastern Georgia, we may end up with higher rainfall totals, not higher winds, not a higher surge, but higher rainfall totals than those on the West Coast. So yes, we're going to have high winds, not up to 100 miles per hour. Right now I'm thinking gusts to 65, but that's enough to bring down some branches, some trees, cause some power outages. Here's the big threat. That is the combination of the tides are higher than normal already because of the new moon, then the nor'easter, and then 6 to 12 inches of rain. We're going to get more specific, of course, as we get closer day by day. But how about a little bit of good news? So no doubt about it, this hurricane is going to tropical storm is going to become a hurricane overnight, then become a major hurricane. It's heading north our way because of the front. So this high will stall. But there's a lot of dry air over the southeast. And actually, the stronger this hurricane becomes, eventually it's going to pull some of that drier air into the system, probably as it approaches or passes Tampa. So what? Well, these systems need moisture. That's why they need warm water. The warmer the water, the more moisture. And so that dry air might start to choke off the system and weaken even before it hits land. Still going to be a major event, but we'll watch for that potential positive developing later in the week. For tomorrow, a nice day for all of us. Remember, though, the new moon tides producing tides already a foot above normal, which is why some of us already getting some dry weather flooding at the time of high tide water coming up through the drains. Going up to 91 tomorrow, the last tranquil day to get something done outdoors Tuesday, and then the stormiest of our weather will be picking up on Wednesday. The stormiest 24-hour period, I think, will be from overnight Wednesday night through overnight Thursday night, and then improving conditions later Friday into the weekend.